Thank you, Deb and Robert. And good morning. So, our inspired reading today on the topic of physical healing comes from Ernest Holmes' classic, The Science of Mind, page 163. Mental or spiritual treatment should bring into actual manifestation the health and happiness which are our normal and divine heritage. Treatment should incorporate a conscious recognition that health has always been ours. Always. Abundance has always been ours. Happiness and peace have always been ours. They are ours now, for they are the very essence and truth of our being. Let us speak this month's affirmation of truth together with conviction, knowing we are surrounded by universal mind that has the power to bring our word into manifestation. Today and every day, I am transformed by the renewal of my mind. I renew my mind with the thought, I am the love of God. The love of God flows through me at all times. When people see me or hear me, they experience love. My life is guided by the indwelling spirit of love.
Thank you, Jennifer. That was done with real heart. I could feel it. Beautiful. So February, the season of love, yes? Yes. And so my intention this entire month has been to raise the bar on the sweetness and the quality of love that we experience in our lives. And it comes about as we drop into our hearts and make that contact with the all that is, that source of all love. And there's a beautiful quote by Marianne Williamson that says, when we drop into our hearts, then we also drop into the mind of God. No, that's not it. That's not it. Let me go back here. That's not it. Okay. The more you drop into your heart, there we go, the more God can drop into your mind. So today, as you can see, the direction we've been going, we're going to be talking about the heart of healing. And in our teaching, we talk about healing in a certain way. We talk about it as another word for it could be wholing, wholing, which means revealing the already present wholeness that lies within us, because each of us are designed by the universal intelligence itself, which is perfect, whole, and complete. So the essence of who we are is perfect, whole, and complete. And that essence, there's a perfect pattern that dwells within each and every one of us. That is that wholeness, that completeness, that perfection of the spirit. And so healing is really just revealing what's already there. And it's so interesting to have been in this teaching, because I've been involved in this teaching since 1990. I've been a practitioner since 1993. I became a minister in 2004. And so with all the years and all of my exposure to this teaching, I've seen more and more how everything's really already there. It's just about us waking up, being able to perceive it, and then being able to receive it as well, instead of pushing it away. And we push it away with our belief structure. We allow it to be revealed in our life through our belief structure as we begin to shift. So today, I'd like to look at this metaphysical or mystical aspect of healing. Ernest Holmes, in the Science of Mind text, writes, healing is not creating a perfect idea or a perfect body. And again, this is what I was talking about. It's revealing an idea which is already perfect. I'm going to read it again. Healing is not creating a perfect idea or a perfect body. So, see, we can take the struggle out of thinking we need to make our bodies healthy. It's really revealing an idea which is already perfect. When we focus our attention on the wholeness, it becomes revealed. Sounds really simple, I know, but that's actually how it works. So, who here would like to experience greater health in one way or another? Either a stronger immune system, greater mental, emotional health, perfect weight, freedom from pain, physical fitness, a more relaxed body free of tension, you name it. They're all different forms of this thing called health, or just general well-being all the time. So if we are, let's use this collective intention. Before we start, because we know our word has power, and so let's say it with conviction, with great power. And so just repeat after me. I set the intention.
I set the intention
To reveal wholeness.
To reveal wholeness
In my body.
In my body.
And in the body of my affairs.
And in the body of my affairs.
How about that one? How about, and in the body of the world?
And in the body of the world.
All right, we'll add that one too. So every time we speak words like that, particularly very consciously and with great intention, we are actively, consciously using the creative mind that surrounds us, that fills us, and we impress it with that thought. And it has no choice. It's basically a law. It has no choice but to reflect that back to us, to start working for us. So really, our only job is to get out of the way, is to not, be dwelling on negative thoughts and stuff like that, but to keep our vibration as high as we can. So today, what I want to explore is the role of the powers of conviction and community in this process. Because here we are, we're gathered as community, and we talk about this word conviction all the time. So let's see the powerful parts that these play in our healing, the healing of every aspect of our lives. And today, in particular, we're focusing on physical healing. So the power of conviction. So what does it mean to have conviction? When you when I first looked at the definition, it's like it had something to do with prison, but no, that's not it. That's not it. Well, so what we're talking about here is a strong knowing from our teachings, a strong knowing that our use of the creative mind can accomplish anything. It's a strong knowing that our use of the creative mind can accomplish anything. So there are actually 4 ways that I want to talk about that we can use this thing called conviction, or this strong knowing that anything is possible. And the first one is to look for what is working and focus on it. The next one is stand vigil with our thoughts. The next one is to begin and maintain an affirmative prayer program. So when Jennifer was talking about treatment, for those of you who might be newer, she was talking about our form of affirmative prayer. And the last one is act as though you are whole, perfect, and complete, and filled with divine energy. So the first one, look for what is working and focus on it. So there was a story that was in the Guidepost magazine about a woman who was in the hospital because her arthritis had gotten so severe that she was in constant pain. So as she would lay there in the hospital bed, feeling like every part of her body was just on fire with pain, she decided to pray and ask for some guidance. And immediately it came to her. It was like an inner voice. She said a thought or an inner voice that said, is there any part of your body that does not hurt? Focus on that. So she did a body scan and she found that her pinky, one of her fingers, actually was free of any pain. So she decided to focus on that. She put her focus on her pinky finger and eventually she fell asleep. And that began a really powerful journey for her. So what she did next was she said, well, okay, so I'll just keep focusing on what doesn't hurt. And as she did this over a period of time, her body became freer and freer and freer of pain until it was finally healed. Now, when we hear these things, we go, wow, okay, so if that is possible for them, then it's possible for me, right? I mean, that's how it works. And I've experienced many situations like that myself, of major healings of things that I had had for a long time that disappeared because of this powerful teaching that we have. So we all have that power to focus on, we talk about focusing on the good all the time. This is an example of that. Focus on what feels good. Focus on the good in our lives. And what happens is the universal law cannot help itself but give us more and more of what we focus on. Number 2, another way of applying conviction. Stand vigil with your thoughts. Ralph Waldo Emerson put it this way. He said, stand guard at the portals of your soul. So it's a way of letting us know that it's up to us to monitor our thoughts. And when they are going down the path of negativity, to bring ourselves back. I love, again, the Abraham Hicks idea of pivoting. Rather than argue with that negative thought and fight with it and that kind of thing, we just turn our back on it and go in the direction of a higher thought, a better feeling thought. So standing vigil with our thoughts is so important. There was a book called Health is Our Birthright by Dr. Ellen Jensen, medical doctor, who addressed the power of our thoughts after years of case studies. And this was her quote. She said, feelings such as guilt, worry, fear, and anger can drain us of the vital energy essential for high quality health and life. And she said, the body is a magnificent creation of God. It is equipped with an innate intelligence and a powerful energy to heal itself when given the opportunity. Keeping the mind free of debilitating thoughts is necessary to access this healing energy and intelligence. I love it when the medical field comes around and realizes what we've been talking about for a long time, right? So here in 1979, Dr. William Tiller convinced the American Medical Association, which is sometimes a very hard task. It's no easy task. I'm not going to say it's hard. I'm going to say it can be challenging at times. But this particular doctor convinced the American Medical Association that our immune system is linked to our thinking. Hello? Yes, we know. Anyway, he said that trends of depressive, negative, fear-based thinking lowers our immune system. Then our bodies are more susceptible to disease, while trends of uplifting thoughts strengthen the immune system measurably and promotes healing. I'm just reminded that a great way to bring ourselves out of this is to go back to our spiritual practice, our meditation, our prayer. And it's also important to remember that most of us are surrounded with spiritual literature, whether it's the Science of Mind magazine or the Science of Mind text or the Bible or whatever particular texts inspire us. They're all around us. And to remember in times when we notice our minds are kind of out of control, to read something inspirational. All of us at the convention were really blessed. They were handing out free copies of Ernest Holmes' Creative Mind. So on the plane ride on the way back, I read through it. It's a small little book, but very powerful, and written back in 1919 by Ernest Holmes. So powerful. The message is so powerful, and again, it's a way of me keeping my thoughts in a high vibration, no matter where I am. So, and so just goes back to Ernest Holmes' statement: to learn how to think is to learn how to live. To learn how to think is to learn how to live. So, where are our thoughts? It's a great question to ask ourselves. He also said that a realization of the presence of God is the most powerful healing agency known. So when we practice looking and experiencing everything that's going on, whether it's the rain or whether it's things going on in the world, if we remember that it's all the activity of God, it really helps to shift us and keep us out of that thing of thinking that there's something other than God going on in the world. Yeah, sometimes there's a misuse of the universal law by humans, by us and other humans. But the truth is that the core and center of everyone is that divine nature, that presence of love. Everything's love or a call for love, right? Okay, so there's also a quote in the Bible that says, "Thou will keep in perfect health those whose minds are stayed on thee." How would we say that in first person? I like turning those things into first person and into contemporary language, right? So here's my way of saying it. Spirit within me keeps me in perfect health if I keep my mind focused on the presence of God everywhere. Take a moment, look around you, and think to yourself, there is the presence of God. So just take a moment. You don't have to say it out loud, but just take a moment, look around, look where other people, things in the room. There is the presence of God everywhere. What do you notice? I can feel all of my cells vibrating and dancing with joy. I literally am getting waves of energy flowing through me just by that thought. The most powerful healing agency in the world is to look around you and remind yourself that you are looking at the presence of God. You are experiencing God. Powerful, powerful healing medicine. In fact, we can think of it as the greatest health insurance on the planet is to practice the presence. Number 3, another way to apply conviction. Begin and maintain an affirmative prayer program. Again, spiritual mind treatment, I'm just summarizing what Jennifer said. Spiritual mind treatment is a conscious recognition that health is ours now as the essence and truth of our being. And we can bring into actual manifestation the health and happiness which is our normal and divine heritage. Every time we look around and remind ourselves, there is the presence of God. How simple is that? And how profound it is, and the effect that it has on our physical bodies and on our sense of well-being. I love what Myrtle Fillmore, she was one of the founders of Unity, said when she was experiencing, she was in the hospital with tuberculosis. And this was back in the days when they didn't know how to take care of it. So when she first heard New Thought spoken at some lecture, she adopted this saying, "As a child of God, I do not inherit sickness. I inherit health." as a child of God, I do not inherit sickness, I inherit health. And she went on to be totally physically healed by keeping her focus on the spiritual truth of who she is. I know what she also did is she went through she scanned her body and told all of her cells how much she loved them as well. That was one of her practices. So do you have a practitioner to support you? I do. Ernest Holmes did. Vitura Papke was his practitioner. It's really helpful to have someone supporting us that knows our truth when we have a challenging time doing that. And while I was at the conference, I met a man by the name of Dore Patlian, Patlian, and he's going to send me his full story because I emailed him. He gave us just a smidgen of it. But he is one of the key people in the movement, and he got up and just spoke briefly about his experience with Ernest Holmes. When he was a child, he was born with cerebral palsy and had a pretty severe case of it. And his mother, having heard of Ernest Holmes, brought him to Ernest, who started doing spiritual mind treatment. And I don't know the whole story, but we'll get the whole story later when he sends it to me. But the bottom line is, he was standing there in front of us. There was no sign of anything. He said he was completely 100% healed of it through spiritual mind treatment, through Ernest knowing his spiritual truth, knowing that there was a perfect pattern within him that just needed to be recognized. Powerful. And so he went on to become a reverend, a minister, a teacher of this wonderful teaching because of his experience. Ernest Holmes says it's the practitioner's business to uncover the perfection of God in every person, the spiritual essence that is never sick. So the practitioner uncovers what's already there by knowing the truth. Okay, number 4, act as if you were whole, perfect, complete, and filled with divine energy. So if we live in a way that is vibrant and energetic and full of life, if we show up that way, our subconscious mind, or what we call the universal law or creative medium, cannot help itself but begin to operate on us and bring that into being. It's powerful, this thing called acting as if. So again, we apply conviction by looking for what's working and focus on it. Stand vigil with our thoughts, keep them high. Focus on the presence of God. Begin to maintain an affirmative prayer program and act as though you're perfect, whole, and complete and filled with divine energy. So the power of community. There are a lot of studies that show how powerful companionship or community is as biologically important as food and water are to our bodies. There was a test with tadpoles that zoologists did, and they found that a solitary tadpole regenerates an injured part very slowly, but put him with all of his buddies, and the healing speeds up miraculously. Okay, that's one. With mice raised in contact with fellow mice grow faster than those who are raised alone. This is no surprise, but I mean, it's always cool to hear this. People exposed to cold germs. How about this? This was an experiment. Those who received hugs were significantly less likely to get the cold. A hug. Yeah. Something that we love to do around here. Okay. And then 2 studies that were on women, 2 different studies. They found that hugs helped these women experience lower heart rates and lower blood pressure, significantly lower heart rates and blood pressure. In our foundations class a couple weeks ago, I brought in one of those blood pressure cuffs, and I took people's blood pressure at the beginning of class, and then after we meditated, it was dramatic. It was dramatic for several of the participants. Just dramatic. So meditation, our spiritual practice, hugs, all of those things are so good for our well-being. So a strong community then is vitally, vitally important for our health, our physical health and well-being. So important. As hugs are. Hugs are part of community. So we here at CSL, we are CSL, right? We're Centers for Spiritual Living Delaware, and we are here as community to support one another in radiant, vibrant health and well-being. The beauty of being in community. I see some hugs going on back there. That's great. Okay, so let's experience it now, okay? I'd like us, first of all, we're going to do some heart math. We're going to do a prayer with a practitioner, and then we're going to do a hug after the prayer. So I'm going to ask all of our practitioners, some of them to go to the back of the room and some of them to come to the front of the room, because then people are going to be coming up to you after we do the heart coherence for a prayer. So some in the front, some in the back. You want to make sure you leave enough room so that somebody can walk up to you. Lovely. Okay. All right, so everybody now, we're going to practice some heart math, some heart coherence, which, by the way, when you focus on your heart and you feel gratitude, you actually raise your immune system. It activates healing. So that's what we're going to be doing. Close your eyes, everyone. Turn within. And let's slow our breathing down, because when we slow our breathing down, we give our body the signal that we are safe and it can relax. So 5 counts in on the inhale, 5 counts on the exhale. Let's do several deep, slow breaths. Focusing our attention on our heart as we're breathing. And now, as you're breathing and as you're focusing on your heart, I'd like you to feel appreciation, compassion, or gratitude. Any of those. So you can just think of all the things you appreciate, all the things you're grateful for, while you continue to have slow breathing and focusing on your heart. And so now I invite you, one at a time, and Dan's going to turn on some music for us, to go up to a practitioner, not one at a time, but several at a time, up to a practitioner and receive prayer for any type of healing that you would like to experience, any revealing of your truth. And when you are complete with them, they're going to give you a hug. So I want you to just state very briefly what it is that you would like prayer about. yes, so yeah, you walk up to a practitioner. We have practitioners all around the room. Just walk up to somebody and request prayer. How can I support you, Dwayne? Okay, holding it. That's a great way to get a lot of prayer done in a fairly short amount of time, isn't it? Yeah. Lovely. So let's say yes to the power of community. Yes! Let's say yes to the power of prayer. Yes! Let's say yes to the power of conviction. Yes! And so it is.
When you live in the kingdom.